That's not Photoshop, it's really real. My point is this, is that sometimes we choose things that really are self-destructive. Anger, fear, worry, guilt, and negative inner voice. Sometimes you will stand in front of a mirror and just say, I am not good enough. Or something comes up and in your head, I'm just not, I can't make it. I'm not good enough. It's not there. Or to live in fear or guilt or shame. It can consume you. And yet all those things are choices. And the Bible has a couple things to say about it. Matthew 6, 27 through 29 says, has anyone, by fussing in front of the mirror, ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? All the time and money wasted on fashion, do you think does it make that much difference? Instead of looking at the fashions, walk out into the fields and look at the wildflowers. Some people, in some versions, it says, look at the lilies of the field. They never primp or shop, but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? Have you ever seen something that's more beautiful than some of those really beautiful flowers? There is hard things to find. The 10 best dressed men and women in the country look shabby alongside them. I love that verse. Galatians 5:22. This is the fruits of the Spirit. It says, but what happens when we live God's way? He brings gifts into our lives, much the same way that fruit appears in an orchard. Things like affection for others, exuberance about life, serenity. We develop a willingness to stick with things, a sense of compassion in the heart, and a conviction that basic holiness permeates things and people. We find ourselves involved in loyal commitments, not needing to force our way in life, able to marshal and direct our energies wisely. When we tap in to living God's way, he says those are the fruits that are going to come out of your life. You don't need to be consumed about negative things in your life. It's a choice. It's a choice. All right, next slide. The other thing is that I have found that when you are having a hard time with, hey, this is all about me, or I'm having a hard time with anger, or I'm having a hard time with, this isn't fair. How many people get that life isn't fair sometimes? It bothers you. If you don't raise your hand, it bothers everyone at some point. Life isn't fair. My best suggestion to you is go be in service of someone else. So picture, if you've been to many parts of the world, they live in cardboard houses with whatever they can find around. Most of the world lives in poverty. And if you ever go to Tijuana, just 60, 70 miles away from here, you can find this. And one of the things I enjoy taking students to, and I've taken my family and other people, and I grew up doing this myself, is going and building homes where people don't have anything. It's amazing. You come back, anyone, I know some faces in this room have done this. You come back and you think what? Wow, what? Yeah. Anyone else?
Blessed.
Blessed. Joyful. You feel guilty. You feel guilty because the things that you're bothered about, that life isn't fair, seem about this big. When we figure out that we live in the richest society in the world and we're complaining about things aren't fair. Really? Really? That we want to spend our time complaining about things. Live life without complaining. And if you find yourself complaining, then strap on the boots and go serve someone else. It will change your life and it will change your attitude. Matthew 5:38 and through 41, Jesus says, have you heard what was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? But I tell you, and he tells several things, but he ends it with, if someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him for 2 miles. Anyone ever hear the expression, go the extra mile? It's a common thing. In fact, Abraham Lincoln used it. He wrote a speech on going the extra mile. And it's a biblical concept that Jesus is the one that coined the phrase. And it was this, that when Roman soldiers walked through, they would have to go on campaigns, and they would walk thousands of miles. They would send these soldiers out on these campaigns really far away. And they had full gear with them. So they had their shields and their armor and their sword, and they carried it all in this pack. Packs would weigh 50, 60, 70 pounds, depending on how much food they had with them as well. Heavy weight. These guys were buff guys. But when they came to a town, or when they came to a settlement, and they came to where someone lived along the roadside, Roman law was this, that if a soldier asked you to carry his pack, you were required to carry it for 1 mile. All it was is simply the soldier asked, you'd have to pick up their pack and carry it for 1 mile. It was the Roman law. So that that soldier could have a rest in order to be rested enough to continue on with his march and continue on with protecting the kingdom. It was kind of like a user tax. You know, we pay taxes for police and fire and those kind of things. That was their tax of the day. And Christ said, you won't learn about what someone is going through by simply walking 1 mile. If you want to walk in someone's shoes, then go the extra mile. And what happens is, when you go an extra mile, you'll actually learn what it's like. The first mile you're doing because you have to do. The second mile you're doing out of choice. And his point is this, that if you want to find out how to make choices about other people, then walk in their shoes. If you're having problems with your roommates, you're having problems with your coworkers, you're having problems with your professors, you're having problems with someone, walk in their shoes for a mile. And maybe you can find out where they're coming from. Same thing. If you're having problems in life and it's all about you, go walk in someone else's shoes that maybe doesn't have it as good as you. Go walk the extra mile sometime. All right, next slide. Walk your talk. Many of you are as you live here in UVA, or some of you are staff, you can appreciate that you live in a fishbowl. That people, and I've lived in for most of my married life. We've been married for 16 years, and we've lived in for, we figured out, 14 years of that. And so we've lived in with students. When you live in with students, people observe you all the time. They observe you when you're walking to your car. They observe you as you're coming and going, and what you're doing at midnight, and where have you been. They're constantly watching you. It doesn't necessarily apply just to people who live in staff. People are watching you, and if you claim to be a Christian, people are going to be watching you all the time. And if you say you're a Christian and you live your life like you're not a Christian, people see that, and they say, that's my opinion of what a Christian is, of what that person does. So you have to walk your talk. And the other word that's up there is carpe diem. Anyone know what that means? Seize the day. It's going to lead into the next one. I'm a maximizer. Some of you have taken the strengths quest with me. I like to fit as much stuff in as possible. Life is short. Seize the moment right now. You're a student right now. You have more free time than any other time in your life. Go explore new things. Go explore new things. So the next one is, before I get to the next one, the other part with that is walking your talk. This is a picture when I was in college. These are all guys I lived with. You become exactly like the people you hang out with. You become exactly like the people you hang out with. If the people you hang out with swear all the time, what do you think your language is going to be filled with? You become like the people that you're with sing show tunes all the time. You will catch yourself singing show tunes, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You become like the people you hang out with. So choose wisely who it is that you want to hang out with. All right, next slide.